Hello, Packers fans, wherever you may be. It's time for another edition of the Pack Attack Cast for August 14th, 2025. We've got notes for you from the joint practice with the Indianapolis Colts. Very interesting notes. We also have some injury updates that are definitely worth listening to, so let's get to it. But before we do that, I want to thank everyone because we just hit the 7,000 sub barrier in less than 4 months. I want to thank everybody who subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, join the party. We're trying to get to 8,000 subs by the start of the season. So sub and find out if we can do it. If you're already subscribed, make sure you give a like to this video because it really helps other people describe or discover the Pack Attack Cast and subscribe for that matter. So today was a big day for the Green Bay Packers. We have joint practices between the Colts and the Packers. And these joint practices actually mean a lot more than the preseason game on Saturday. Why? Because the starters are going to play in this game and in the practice, and they're not necessarily going to start in the preseason game. In addition, the Indianapolis Colts have a quarterback battle going on, so they're actually having two startable quality players fighting it out. So we're not going to have some random backup quarterback that no one's going to see again in the third quarter against the Packers. So it's going to be high quality quarterback play for the Colts probably the whole game between Richardson and his competition at number one for quarterback. So these practices actually mean more because we have actually starters versus starters, which we're not necessarily going to see in the preseason game. Let's go through participation first before we go through news and notes here. Israel Abakanda returned with a hamstring injury. Did not practice. We talked about the injury issues in the last video, which had great success, by the way. So please check out that video if you haven't talked about it or if you haven't watched it yet. A lot of these did not practice injuries. I'm not worried about for week one. And in my last video, I went through the fact that actually most of these injuries look like they're going to be gone by week one. So it's much to do about nothing. But let's talk about who did not practice today. Romeo Doubs with a back. Jordan Love with a left thumb. Now, importantly, Jordan Love was at the practice. He traveled with his team, which I think was great leadership on his part. He has a full cast on his covering up his left thumb, so he did not participate, but he took virtual reps. From what I've heard, he was out there with the quarterbacks. He was engaged. He was watching from the sideline, trying to get as much as he can get out of the practice without practicing, which is great. Zane Anderson was out with a knee injury. Xavier McKinney was out with a calf injury. If it was regular season, I think he would play. Jaden Reed was out with a foot injury, but he is out of his walking boot, so that tells me that his sprained foot is much better, or they wouldn't let him walk around without the boot. So that increases the chances, in my opinion, that Jaden Reed will be fine for week number one. Donatavian Wicks has a calf injury. Again, I think if it was regular season, he would be playing. Nate Hobbs has a knee injury as he's recovering from a minor orthoscopic procedure on his torn meniscus. But he will be back for week one, and I'm not worried about that. So I'm very excited that these injuries are very minor for preseason and for practice, training camp right now. We've had teams lose starting left tackles. We'd have them seen them lose starters on defense. For the season, we've seen people go on injured reserve that are key components for other teams. We haven't seen any of that. So these minor injuries are minor. So let's not get overly excited about that. Now let's talk about news and notes from the practice with the Colts. Now this is a little different because the beat writers are not necessarily there with the team because they're in Indianapolis. So we have to take most of our information from tweets and posts versus formal write ups of how the practice went. So overall, I've heard that the offense struggled for the Packers and the Colts. That's not surprising for the Packers because we have so many players out. Our starting quarterback is not participating. So it's not a surprise that the Packers offense has struggled. So I'm not going to worry about that too much. But what we can do is look at some of the news and notes from the offense here and try to pick out good nuggets where we see signs of success despite the fact that we had our primary starting wide receivers out and our starting quarterback. So let's go through these news and notes that I was able to put together. Rookie Matthew Golden won both of his one-on-one matchups against the Colt DBs. Gets open for a second on an out route against cornerback Alex Johnson. So on both one-on-ones against the Colts, Matthew Golden got open and made a reception. Now, one-on-ones heavily favor the receiver, but that's still great to see given the fact that we don't have our starting lineup out there. Now, in one-on-ones, there's no offensive line or defensive line. It's pretty much just pitch and catch with the quarterback, the receiver, and the DB. Let's see. I'm going through these news and notes, so bear with me. It's not as easy as just reading a summary from people. Let's see. Marshawn Lloyd got a nice hole on a red zone play. So that's great to see that Marshawn Lloyd is out there practicing and he got some good reps. Elgersma hit Hicks in the for a touchdown in the back corner. But overall, it wasn't pretty for the offense today. 4 and outs for the starters in 2 minutes and 3 incompletes and a sack. Sounds like both defenses were winning the day. And these are tweets from various reporters that were there on the sideline, including the Packers.com team that was tweeting out things. So again, not a surprise. Starting wide receivers, for the most part, except for Golden, are out of practice. Jordan Love is out of practice. It's not a surprise to see the offense struggle here. And we'll probably see that in the preseason game as well. But what I'd like to see is good execution for the Packers. In the preseason game, and I'm going to do a report tomorrow about what we want to see in the preseason game, I want to see good fundamental football. No holding. Opening up running back lanes. No bad illegal formations. All those little things that we saw in the first preseason game, I want it to cleaned up for the offense. I don't care necessarily about how many points they put on the board. I want to see all those miscues where they shot themselves in the foot go away in this preseason game. That's what I want to see from the offense this week. Now, defense in this practice is really the story. And I'm just going to read these tweets and comments verbatim to show you how good the Packers defense was. They dominated this game, and I think for the Packers to win this preseason game against the Colts, the defense has to come up really big against the Colts on Saturday. And I'm really looking for them to take the success that they took out of training camp. And in the first preseason game, the first team defense was really good at stopping the run. So I want to see the defense continue this success on Saturday. But let me just read out these tweets because they're very exciting for me. First one, Rashawn Gary came to practice, gets sack on Richardson. Now Lucas Van Ness gets around the left tackle for a sack on Jones. Next play, Quay Walker gets a sack on a blitz. The Packers are getting a rush up front. Wooden just got home up the middle with a sack on Richardson. Brooks was there too. Next tweet, defense is dominating the Colts on 11 on 11. Trenches have been a real problem so far. This is the Colts reporter who's saying this. Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones are dealing with constant pressure. It doesn't matter if it's the first string or the second string. So that's a Colts reporter stating that the Packers are dominating the Colts on defense. This was the defense in a nutshell today. Rashawn Gary with pressure. Mitchell drops downfield, turns into a Keyshawn Nixon interception. Good to see Keyshawn Nixon out there practicing today. Next play, Bullard strips Mitchell and Evan Williams recovers it. We're seeing all kinds of plays from the defense here. Jonathan Baldwin picks a deep pass for Anthony Gould from Anthony Richardson. Well, it would have been a pick if Brenton Cox hadn't sacked Richardson first. Okay, so what they're describing there is Anthony Richardson was touched by Brenton Cox for a sack, but they went ahead and continued the play, and it ended up being an interception from Richardson to the Packers. So technically they won twice on one play there. This sure is domination from the Packers defense. Brandon Sorrell, sack of Richardson, and he just dirts it. Isaiah Simmons just picked off Daniel Jones to end the 2-minute drill. Those are just some of the tweets I was able to find today. And I'm very excited what we're seeing here. We're seeing the defense continue to develop and emerge and find ways to dominate another team. That's what we need this defense to do in year 2 with Jeff Hafley. We need to see domination because I believe the Packers defense can be a top 5 defense. And if they're a top 5 defense and the offense is above what they did last year, I think the Packers are going to make a deep playoff run. So this is really great to see. So what we want to take from this, and I'll have news and notes tomorrow because I'm going to break down the game between the Colts and the Packers tomorrow on my next stream. We want to see the defense, second string, third string, they'll probably sprinkle in some first teamers here and there, continue to dominate against Indianapolis in the preseason game. I'd like to see the offense, even though they're going to struggle with how many players they have out and with Jordan Love not playing, I still want to see them work on technique. We want to see good offensive line technique. We want to see no holding. We want to see no illegal formations. We want to see the Packers offense, even if they struggle, they're not beating themselves. I want to see the Colts beat the Packers offense, not the Packers offense beat the Packers offense, if that makes sense. So that's just a quick video today. We don't have a lot of news and notes, but I wanted to get you what I could. So overall, the offense struggled, which isn't a surprise given who was out, and our defense tore up the Indianapolis Colts offense, which is exactly what we want to see. And it's not just about the preseason, okay? So we've seen the offense. The offense is going to miss some critical reps with Jordan Love out and the wide receivers out probably till next week. So what we want to see is we need the Packers defense to step up all through preseason and most importantly week 1 against the Lions, because the Packers offense might struggle a little bit in that first game after they've had some players out due to injury. So we need the Packers defense to dominate the Lions, especially up the middle where the Lions have their new interior offensive line. That is the weakness for the Lions. If we blow up in week 1, if we blow up the Lions interior offensive line on a consistent basis, we will win the game against Detroit. So that's all I have for you today. That's all the news and notes I got. If I could find some more for tomorrow, I'll circle back to it. If not, tomorrow's is all going to be about breaking down the Colts, breaking down the Packers, and figuring out what we want to see in the preseason game on Saturday. So as always, go Pack Go, and thanks, of course, once again for the likes and subscribes as we just passed 7,000 in 4 months. In addition to saying Go Pack Go, I'm going to say Go Pack Attack Cast subs, because you guys are really making a difference with your subscriptions, and we deeply appreciate it. Come back tomorrow for our breakdown of the preseason game against the Colts. Talk to you then.